Rick, nice to meet you.
Rebecca, nice to meet you.
Yeah, right. It's only for variances.
Yeah,
Right. Okay.
This is. It seemed like it was every couple months.
Now there's a lot more development.
It's been, I don't know, I think it's been 8 months now, so. Let's see.
How long have you been on this?
You know, I think it feels longer because there's so much time in between. I want to say 3 years maybe. And I was just pretty new to
Rick.
it.
Hey, Rick, it's 5:29.
Kathy, we are ready. We're live whenever you're ready. At 5:30.
Okay, we'll just wait till 5:30 then. Okay. So it's the Board of Adjustment regular meeting of September 14th, 2022. We're here at Bartonville Town Hall at 1941 East Jeter Road in Bartonville, Texas. We're gonna call to order the meeting and it's 5:30 p.m. We're gonna stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we have public participation. Do you have any cards? Nothing? To anyone in the audience that would like to speak for during the public participation? No? Okay, so then we'll move on to approval of the minutes from the last meeting. Anyone had a chance to read over those? And does anyone want to make a motion on that? Should we approve? Okay, do we have a second? Okay, all in favor? Who gets to vote? All five of us get to vote? All five of us get to vote? Okay. Okay, so now we'll have public hearings. So we have public hearing number 1 for the variance on 460 West Jeter, the Walling property. So we open the public hearing at 5:31 p.m. and we can hear from the applicant. So if you'll state your name, address, raise your right hand and swear to tell the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Sure. Drew Walling, currently living at 5804 Pepperport Court in Flower Mound. Building at 460 West Jeter. What else? I'm sorry, my blood sugars just went low. What else was I meant to say?
Well, yeah, I just wanted you to swear that you tell the truth.
I
and
swear to tell
state
the
your
whole
name
truth.
and your address. So now you
Yeah.
can go ahead with your presentation.
So not much of a presentation. My folks have been residents for 40 plus years. And as they're aging, we're building a house. Siobhan knows them well. We're building a house at the farm. We platted out 17 acres of the 100 that they had. And come to find out where we put the house, we now are going to build a shop, with mother-in-law quarters for my wife's mother. And just the orientation of the property, it's kind of I just brought this. It's kind of a skinny track that goes way back, and we're just going to tuck the shop in the back corner. And we were going to originally try to do it on the front side, but you're not allowed to build a barn in front of the house. So we moved it to the back, redesigned it. And the variance is that we're pushing it back 18, 19 feet further north over the 50-foot. It says something about you have to be 50 foot within the 50 foot from the homestead or major or minor, however you look at it. And so that's what we're doing. We're just going to build a shop with the mother-in-law suite 18, 19 feet further back than the I'm sorry, my sugar's low. Than the regulations.
Look on page 11 of your packet. You'll see the orientation of what Drew was showing. It shows where the house is, the build lines from the property, as well as, again, that he's about 68 feet from the primary residence. And if you also go through your packet, the We quote in there the sections that require it to be within 50 feet of the primary residence. If it's going to be an accessory dwelling. So it's the addition of the dwelling that kind of complicates it. It's the, you've got a shop with the ability to park RVs and things, but you've also got the mother-in-law suite. So that's what brings it here before you today is the addition of the dwelling piece triggers that 50 foot. So again, that's the request is to be permitted to build that 68 feet from. And Ed, do you have anything to add to?
No.
Okay. Is that about it, Drew?
That's about
Just wanna
it,
Make
yeah.
sure that, again, they do have that in their packet and you can see the facade as well on page 12 on what is proposed to be built. And then on page 13, you actually have the layouts and it shows the mother-in-law portion that triggers this request. And I'll answer any questions I can if you have.
So it still meets the build line requirements
Yes.
from
Yes.
the neighbors.
Yes.
And then I read, or I thought I read that, so this is gonna be about 3,000 square feet.
Correct.
And is there a 1,000 square foot limit or is that only on the AC part?
Only on the dwelling piece. Yes, the
Their
1,000.
addition part is like 840 or
Yes.
something.
That is correct.
No, we're currently building a house. We've gone through the process of replatting the farm, cut out 16, 17 acres. The house is under construction now. And so the shop / mother-in-law suite is just kind of tucked behind the house. And the reason why,
That's your building for your sale?
yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. And the reason why we pushed it back a little bit, we already had the house set and going. And then found out we couldn't build it in front. So we said, okay, redraw something, put it towards the back. And then it's the main house garage wall is about 75 feet off the property line. The shop will be 50 foot basically at the build line. And then there's garages that you have to access. So I thought if we just pushed it out a little bit further, it's easier to back a trailer in with a boat or what have you in there.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Any other questions?
But it meets the setbacks and everything, right?
Yes, ma'am. It does meet all the build line setbacks.
Okay.
The
Yes.
issue is it's just farther away from the home than what the city requires.
Yes, sir. It's 18, 19 feet farther away than that requires.
And it's way back in the corner of the property line. Is that?
Yeah,
kind of
so
what that's
from-
looking like? Yeah.
From Jeter Road
Uh-huh.
to the house is about 1,500 feet. So we're
Like-
1,900 feet back. And we're way back there, yeah. No. No, we got Andy and Lynn Partridge, and I forget the folks that are north of them, but we had to jump through a lot of hoops to develop this because there's a creek that comes through here that's floodplain. So we did a hydrology study, topo study of the entire farm, hydrology study from the northeast side. And, basically all this is out of floodplain. We had to cross just a bit here, and then there's going to be a bit here that we cross. But all of this is just like a forest.
Can you tell me I'm sorry, were you still talking? Where the new shop is, where the pond relates to this?
Can I just show you, just draw it on here real quick and show you?
That'd be great.
Yeah.
I mean, I see the word, but I don't see the shape.
Scale. This is
That's
the
your question.
pond.
Yeah, I wanted to know kind of where the pond was.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So the pond is not affecting where you built.
Oh,
it.
no, no, no.
Okay, else want to see where the pond is?
It's a
Well,
tablet.
I was like-
Yeah, thank
You can kind of see
Okay.
it on the drawing, but I just wanted to see where it was in relation to the shop a little closer.
Okay.
Appreciate that, though.
Did you get any feedback from neighbors or anything?
We only received the one letter that should be in the packet, again, from the Wallings. Not Drew and Tiffany, but the parents.
But there was also no negative. We didn't see anything.
I did not receive anything negative. No calls, no emails.
5:39, we'll close the public hearing. Okay, and then we'll just, y'all have any more discussion, or does someone want to make a motion, or?
So I'm new to this. Can you explain the hardship aspect?
In the packet, there's probably, yeah, some guidelines here.
We didn't get a packet.
Well, it's all in
It's all on
here,
computer.
so it's probably on page 22. So, so Ed, if you're, it's page 8, okay.
Yes, we have the same information for both. So 22 is the same information
Okay.
basically, but it is on page 8 for this one.
So if you approve it, you don't have to pick a hardship, but if you don't, you don't approve it.
identify one of the
Yeah,
subsections.
if you don't want to approve it,
Hardship isn't the only one.
yeah.
On page 8, there are.
Gotcha.
Motions.
Thank you.
Sure. I guess I'll make the motion to approve the variance as it's necessary for the preservation and enjoyment of the property right of the petitioner. And it won't be detrimental to the public health of other property in the area.
Second.
You said that.
I'll second.
Okay, okay. So all in favor?
Aye.
No one's opposed? Okay, so then let's say the motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Mhm.
I'm excuse myself.
Go eat.
Some fun.
Thank you again.
Mhm.
Thank you.
For a variance from the zoning district requirements for chapter 19 accessory building and use regulations, section 19.1 and 19.4 C, to allow for the continued placement and the use of the existing accessory building without a primary building. The property to be considered for the variance is generally described as a 3.412 acre tract of land located on Porter Road north of Broom Road in Bartonville, Texas. So we'll open this public hearing at 5:41. And do we want to hear from staff first? Do you want to hear from him first?
Typically it'd be me first, but that's up to you
Well, that's fine, because I
I
was
just
thinking I
wanna
might have, yeah.
to be able to go through some of
Okay.
that. Again, this request is coming, the property owners are here to answer questions when we get to that point, but they had platted, or the owners had 2 lots. One had a house and they were permitted to build a barn structure on a separate lot, which should not have been permitted under the old rules. So the house is now sold, but they'd like to continue to use the barn. It's on a separate lot. Ordinances do not allow for an accessory structure without a primary structure. So the request is coming forward so that they can, one, keep that structure there as a use and get power and water to that structure for continued help with the horses and the things they do. And again, you've received a lot. This one was a little more passionate. You received a lot of positive responses that are in your packet to this request. And again, that the entire reason is that they shouldn't have been allowed to do that originally without replatting, but they were. So now they're in a position not of their own doing specifically, but they would like to continue using that barn because the people who bought the house did not buy that other lot. And so that, again, the variance would be for allowing that accessory structure without a primary structure on that lot. If that's how you choose to move.
Leave it there, but they need water and power.
Yes, the structure can stay as legal non-conforming, but they cannot get an address or water or power to it without this variance.
Tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God.
Yeah.
And state your name and.
Bradley Thomas. And we recently moved from Bartonville to, if I can remember the address, 9480 Oak Meadow Lane, Pilot Point. And this is my wife, Kim, and she runs a fairly large horse rescue. And we're going to continue to keep the property here in Barton for the alpacas, rescue alpacas and some rescue horses. And staff did a very good job summarizing what the situation is and how it came about. So I'm not going to bore you with the details on that again, but we do need an address so we can obtain water and electric meters for the care of the animals. So Kim, I want you to please tell them a little bit about the rescue.
So help you God.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, we've been here in the Bartonville area for 11 years now. We moved in on Rockgate Road originally. I'm the little girl that always wanted a horse whose parents said no. And finally, once I got one, it's just like, you can't, it's like potato chips. You can't eat just one. So our mission kind of turned to horse rescue once I realized that there's so many horses that are in need, don't have a place to go, don't, have the food, the shelter, the things they need. And a lot of them are slaughtered. So that kind of ignited my passion for helping and saving horses. I'm not really into riding. I mean, I think that's great. I'm a little klutzy, so I just haven't taken a lot of chances in that direction. But everything started to blow up after I got the first couple of horses. We had, I think at one time we had close to 18 on our Rockgate Road property at 4.5 acres. And with that many horses on a property, we were out picking up manure 2 or 3 times a day. We kept the property pristine. And, I think all of our neighbors on Rockgate would probably attest to that. So once things started to kind of expand, we bought the property on Porter with the almost 3.5 acre pasture, and went through the process we thought was the way we were supposed to. Unfortunately, I guess it wasn't, but we built the barn and continued our rescue operations there. And we were on a well. 589 Porter has a well, and the barn was tied into one of 2, I think there were 2 electric meters on the property. So that's kind of where our issue is right now. But the new owners who bought the property, they are amazing, and they want to help us with our rescue mission. In fact, our alpacas are there right now, and they are taking care of the alpacas. They've gone through Alpaca 101 classes and schooling, and we did have one pass away yesterday, though, which was tragic, but they are all getting up there. They're all at least 15, 16, 17 years old. So that's going to happen. It's through no fault of theirs, but it's always tragic when you lose your first animal. And so we went through that yesterday, but they're taking excellent care, and they are allowing us to use the well on the property and the electric meter that's already hooked up until we can make arrangements to secure those on our own. Going down through the different criteria, I can't see where anything that we're trying to do would be any different than what we've done in the past. We plan to keep the property, clean, tidy, orderly. We're not going to put a ton of animals over there because we're not here to take care of them. The alpacas will stay. We might put a few horses or donkeys or something over there at some point to keep the grass down. But it's just difficult for us to operate without our own water and electric, and we don't really want to take advantage of the neighbors to do that. We'd like to have that on our own and be able to pay for that on our own. We don't have plans, currently to sell the property. I think at some point, possibly the people that bought the house might like to have the land just to keep someone from building a house on it. Actually, they like the idea of having the barn there. And we always thought it was great because, horses were there. The neighbors would, the pictures over here, the big Belgian, that's Jesse. He was kind of an icon in Bartonville. Everybody knew who Jesse was, looked for him. He passed away summer of 2020, I believe. He was 18 and had some major health issues. He foundered and had bad hooves from the day we got him, which was why we got him. So people knew our horses. Kids would stop on the road and, you know, it was fine to stop and pet and feed as long as they were careful and they were with parents and they only fed appropriate things. So we felt like our rescue and our animals added a lot to keeping Bartonville country and to the Bartonville community. Uh-huh.
Page 27 in your package, you can see the pictures of the location of the house and the barn. And then again, pictures of the barn as well on the next page.
So is that property platted separately from
Yes,
this now?
ma'am. Yes, it is.
So if it were to sell and they wanted to build a house, would they have to build the house in front of that barn, or how would that work? I mean, since the barn's practically right dab smack in the middle. Or would you have to tear it down and start all over?
That is, that's a great question that I don't have an answer for.
So would our decision here tonight, if you allowed them to keep that up, does that give them any rights to not have to follow future ordinances down the road as far as building the house there or anything like that? So, no, so all that would, you know, just,
Still
it'd probably come up again,
It'll probably come up again.
come up again.
To look at all if it would meet the setback requirements if you did need to build a house?
We haven't because we would not build a house there.
Right.
And we figured that if at some point down the road, we sold the property, then whoever bought it would have to go by our requirements and either move the barn or tear it down. It could be moved.
Add something on it that they have to, you know, bring this about to whoever's going to buy the house, unless it's obviously the people in the next property that, you know, that would be the ideal situation. But if it's not, they already apply. So they wouldn't have to disclose it necessarily, everything that's going on. Mm, okay, well, I just hate for them to sell the house to somebody and then, you know, it's their responsibility, but when they buy the property without a house on it and a barn on it, to make sure that everything was done properly before.
All of our ordinances are online and we get calls frequently. So again,
Yeah.
as long as somebody calls first or at least looks online, they'll know the rules that apply.
So to Kathy's point, if somebody did buy, didn't know, wanted to build, wouldn't meet the variances, they're not under kind of the same understanding that the Thomases had a barn approved that shouldn't have been approved.
That would not carry with again, a new house structure or something like that. That new house would have to fall into our current ordinances and guidelines, or they'd come back here.
In 2012.
Kind of trying to figure out how they built that. No one noticed that it was going out without the proper.
City.
So you got the building permit from the
Yes,
city?
yes, they actually got a building permit
And did it
to
all?
build on the separate lot. And again, I can't speak to that because I wasn't here, obviously. But it should not have occurred, but it's what has created this situation.
You know how wide that property is? No. I don't think,
It's about 3.5 acres. It's about twice as wide as it is long, but. Sorry.
No.
so we don't have anyone in the audience that wants to speak for this or against this? No?
So I saw that there were a number of neighbor responses.
Yeah, and they all seem positive.
So,
Nothing negative.
I think I saw a new one. So I guess the people that bought the house that it's next to, it's the one the closest. And what's their feedback? I didn't catch their names. So,
The beavers.
okay.
It's this one, Rick.
Yeah.
It's this one that she just laid there.
Person directly north.
Yeah, she just laid that one there. So I guess it came in later after the fact.
Okay, so we got feedback from the one side in favor of it. And then there was, I think, 2 feedback from the same family behind you. And then I saw some feedback from across the street, but I wasn't sure exactly who it was coming from.
The two-story brick with the pillars
I see.
Yeah.
going in.
Mhm.
What about the neighbor directly north? Are any of those? That's still.
Mailed to everyone within 200 feet. We did not receive any negative feedback in the form of email or phone calls.
At all worry about ingress and egress for emergency services in this, or does that not matter for what they're asking for? Okay,
So right now, one of the main issues is water and power, and it's being supplied by your
Neighbors
neighbors.
are letting us use it. We offered.
And
we
so
offered
you
to
just
pay
want
for
to,
it, and
to
they're-
do it independently
Yes.
right now.
Yes.
I mean, that's really what the whole purpose of this is to make sure you have power, your own power and water,
Yes.
and you need an address to do that.
Yes. And also the water for both the animals, but also so we can maintain weed control in the property. Because you know, those yellow flowers that come up and look
He hates
terrible.
it.
We go out there and spray those 2 or 3 times a year. But the people that bought our house that is adjacent to it. This is from Friday, September 9th. My name is Ron Beavers, and recently my wife and I purchased the property at 589 Porter Road, Bartonville. I understand the Thomas family is in the process of applying for a separate address in order to continue their horse rescue operations on the adjacent acreage. I did want to convey that we support their effort and hope you grant their request. They're wonderful people, and would love to continue to keep them as neighbors. But I feel kind of like at the end of It's a Wonderful Life with all these nice emails and things people send in, I feel kind of like Jimmy Stewart, but some people say some very nice things to us, or for us.
Okay, so any more questions for them?
So if it doesn't get approved, I guess is there a cost to you guys? I mean, that property would be less valuable, or, I mean, I'm just looking at some of the criteria that we have around what's.
So should we close the public hearing and then we can discuss?
Okay.
So we do that? Okay, so we'll close the public hearing at 5:55 and then we'll open up for discussion between us. So
206 feet across the front. Typically, we require 200 feet on width. Again, the property is wider as you go, but at the road, it is 206 feet.
So potentially in the future, if it's sold, somebody could build a house.
Yes, there is sufficient frontage there for there to be a drive.
And leaving the barn behind the house.
Now that I don't know about leaving the barn. Again, then you end up with setback issues like we dealt with Drew. But they would have to meet all of our building requirements for that zone.
What is the other structure you can see in the northeast corner?
It's a small shed, small loading shed that was there when we
Okay.
bought the property.
has this always been separately platted or did you have to replat that when you sold the house?
So it was always 2 pieces of,
It was always
two
two-
separate parcels, and the people we bought it from own both. And we bought both.
Okay,
We had it listed altogether, the whole 7 acres. And these people really wanted the house, but they couldn't quite swing the whole property. So they bought the one piece. Our realtor, about 4 or 5 days before that, he suggested that maybe we just list the house with the 4 acres. And so we did that. We weren't going to list the land separately because we didn't want to sell the land before the house, and who knows what might happen. We'd hoped to sell it all as one package, but it just didn't work that way.
and I guess I have one more question. Is there a limit to how many horses they can have on that without a house being there? Or does that not really matter? No, okay. Okay,
There's not that many animals on that property anywhere, is there?
No, since the one alpaca passed away, we only have 3 alpacas there right now. And recently I've only had, we had the whole thing, and it was divided into the big pasture, and then there was a smaller paddock behind, and then the wooded pasture on the one side. And most recently we had 6 horses there, I think. At different times we've had, we had 8 in the pasture when Jesse was still with us. And then we had 4, I think, on the other side that we kept separate. But we drag our pastures every single day and we pick up the horse manure. I'm crazy picky on keeping it looking nice.
Even living in Pilot Point, you come down every day?
No, no, no,
Oh,
we don't have
okay.
anybody out there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Mm, okay.
and we have an awesome guy who's local that
Okay.
we have come and do things if we're not there.
I make a motion to approve the variance as it's necessary for the enjoyment of the property right in the petitioner. Preservation of the property now.
Second. Aye.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Business before you tonight.
5:59, let's close the meeting.
Well, you guys have 2 of them on the